So as we discussed in Sunday's video, we imagine our relationships to be a certain way while they're around, and they reflect those subconsciously accepted self-suggestions as our experiences with them. When they're not around, if they pop up in mind, we may imagine them to be a certain way, and upon accepting those self-suggestions, they show up that way to confirm our self-suggestions. This is how all beliefs in relationships have been formed. Self-accepted suggestions in relation with others. These self-accepted suggestions form beliefs about ourselves, others, and our relationships with them. So today I'd like to speak about how real-time in the moment, how we relate with others and how they relate with us can change instantly to reflect our ideal self-suggestions in our relationships, all by lighthearted observation. This also purifies the mind further of certain subconscious beliefs that were once persistently identified with that are no longer in harmony with the ideal relationships that we desire personally and professionally. Now, there's a wonderful book called The Unfettered Mind, Writings of the Zen Master to the Sword Master. And although it discusses an ideal mental attitude for the martial artist, it holds valuable insights for communication and relating with others if we draw some parallels. So this part here, it states, the mind must always be in the state of flowing. But when it stops anywhere, that means the flow is interrupted, and it is this interruption that is injurious to the well-being of the mind. So the mind is fluid while we allow it to be in flow. Lightheartedly, we are able to observe how we feel or think in relation with others to determine if we would about to become identified with as far as unnecessary beliefs go, which could result in a flow breaker, all while being oriented automatically from a consciously accepted self-suggestion. By allowing this to happen, the relationship changes to reflect your consciously accepted self-suggestion. Now, many years of entrepreneurship, public speaking, and consulting have taught me that we all have these kinds of experiences. You have them, and all I'm doing here is bringing awareness to what I found is going on based on my experience and working with others. And I trust it will be enormously helpful for you, as I've taught this to many others, and they've all benefited greatly from it. So first, it is important to acknowledge that we already have far more experience in life than we may give ourselves credit for, stored in our subconscious. We also have access to infinite intelligence inside, which is the source of everything outside, and all of it is inside of us right now. All we do is let it happen rather than trying to force it to happen, thus creating unnecessary emotional turmoil and convoluted behaviors in the process. Number two, we allow infinite intelligence to flow through the intention we have accepted as true prior to interacting with others. This not only changes our experiences with others to ideal, it also purifies the mind of certain past beliefs that are no longer relevant to how we desire to be, while also embodying further our ideal autosuggestions, thus transforming our self-image so that all of what we ideally intend happens automatically and naturally wherever we go. So we hold, whether we are consciously aware of them or not, subconscious beliefs about ourselves, others, in relation with others, and the different categories we may create in mind for relationships, such as romantic partners, friendships, etc., formed over our life. These subconscious beliefs formed in the past, if identified with, orient us to the effect of them in the presence of another person, and it plays out accordingly. This is true whether we would consider them ideal beliefs or not ideal. It happens automatically. This is also why autosuggestion encourages the attributes that make up the ideal self-image and how we relate to our world of how we consciously desire to be, so we can orient from our ideal. So our goal here is to release all identification with the beliefs in the moment that we would not consider to be ideal, while yielding to the subconscious intention of the ideal harmonious relationship, with which calls forth all our reference experience and infinite intelligence done automatically for you by the subconscious realm. Again, all of this is done automatically by mere observation. So let's talk about how we do this. This is very much like the 7-Day Mental Diet by Emmett Fox. As a matter of fact, it inspired this, which is another reason why I keep bringing it up. And if you haven't watched the video I did recently on it, I'll link in the description to it. So whenever we are interacting with anyone, we lightheartedly observe, sensitive to how we feel in relation to them without overthinking. Simple observation. Because thoughts or emotions that show up are not a concern. We let them flow. It is our subconscious labeling of them that causes the dwelling, and thus the interactions play out to reflect what we are identifying with. Now, these subconscious beliefs reveal themselves like messengers before playing out in interactions by how we feel. So there's a window of opportunity here. We become more sensitive to this window of opportunity by applying what we're discussing. So if during an interaction you find that you are about to react in a way that you would not consider ideal to what they said, perhaps even a subtle gesture or body language, indicated by how you feel, at that moment, release all identification in mind by mere lighthearted observation, minus any biases. From there, you'll find that the situation will change to reflect an ideal one. And how will it change? Well, it will change to reflect your ideal subconscious self-suggestions, vision, goal, or definite chief aim in some shape or form. If it seems to persist undesirably as you apply this, I suggest a statement that you could suggest to yourself, such as, "They are ideal," or "ideal now," or something like that, inside your mind. And then the interaction will transform to reflect that intention. This is because our immediate reality is a reflection of what we are conscious of being now. So if it seems to persist further, simply identify these subconscious beliefs and release the identification with them with self-talk or whatever modality you'd like, and you'll find it's easy to apply what's being discussed as applicable to your interactions. It even becomes an automatic, natural way of being, because it really is a natural way of being, ideal self-image. So none of this is done by mental, emotional, or physical force, rather allowing your vision to be lightheartedly. So there's no need for unnecessary conflict. We change it inside, make our moves inside, as this is one consciousness and all within awareness reflected. As Sun Tzu mentioned in The Art of War, he said, "The supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting." So we do not make the person we want to be with an enemy in mind subconsciously through identifying with certain past beliefs in relation to them. We also don't make ourselves the enemy by identifying with certain past beliefs that seem to imply. We release in the moment all ideas of unnecessary conflict in mind, and mind goes fluid, childlike, as stated earlier, and the changes occur oriented from our ideal vision. So all we're doing is orienting ourselves from our ideal self-suggestion, and everything flows ideally. As I mentioned earlier, we have far more experience in life that we may give ourselves credit for. We also have access to infinite intelligence within us, which is the source of everything inside of you. All of it exists inside of you now. And so we allow this inherent wisdom to flow through us. So in moments of interactions with others, we could either play out unnecessary beliefs from our past or operate from an ideal intention, or a combination. It's really up to us. To facilitate inner change in the moment prior to reactivity, which is again a window of opportunity for transformation. Just prior, if we feel we are about to react, we transmute the energy and everything flows naturally and reflects accordingly, as discussed in the Kybalion. Mind may be transmuted from state to state, degree to degree, condition to condition, pole to pole, vibration to vibration. True hermetic transmutation is a mental art. So you may see that mental transmutation is the art of mental chemistry, if you like the term, a form of practical mystic psychology. Now, the Kybalion, by the three initiates, was said to have been written by William Walker Atkinson, and some of my sources suggest Paul Foster Case and Michael Whitty were involved. So he said in another book the following, which I'd like to relate together to further emphasize what we're discussing. He said, "The best suggestionists are those who have acquired the suggestive manner, which is developed by the exercise of authoritative utterances and commands, the physical appearance, manner, and tones arising from a reflection of the mental state within." So our goal here is to let them be. Let our outer world be. And in the moment of potential reactivity, the window of opportunity revealed by how we feel, revealed by the subconscious indicating the past belief in relation to what they're saying, doing, or even subtle gestures or body language, don't react by not trying to not react, but rather lightheartedly observe. Release all unnecessary identification in mind. This is referred to as the Japanese word mushin, shortened from mushin noshin, which means mind without mind, in where we remain in our ideal state by doing nothing, mere observation. Everything is. Now, in the book I mentioned earlier, it describes it from a martial arts perspective by saying they just stand there, forgetful of all techniques, ready only to follow the dictates of the subconscious. For it is not you, but the sword in the hand of your subconscious that strikes, which in our context here is the subconscious intention accepted as true that transcends past beliefs that are no longer in harmony with how you want the relationship to play out ideally, and that is divinely willed by the subconscious mind to change everything and reflect accordingly. So by doing this, which is really, in a way, doing nothing, everything happens as beyond reactivity you have infinite intelligence, and everything is done for you. You have already accepted the suggestion of how it goes ideally, and we let it happen rather than trying to unnecessarily force and emotionally suffer to try and make it happen in some convoluted way. This is sometimes referred to as unspoken wisdom, the silent observer, etc. From there, the entire interaction changes to one that is ideal, as all arise from the mental state within, as the theater that plays out, which he refers to as authoritative utterances, the physical appearance, manner, and tones, all arise as automatic theater directed by the subconscious intention in which all that are involved seem to transform naturally from the mental state within. The key is releasing control. Everything is done for us. We let it happen. That is the magic. In a way, nothing to do. The magic happens. The energy changes, and it reflects as some five-sensory theater from the silence, which when we experience it, we call ideal, as also stated here in the Kybalion. So you see, therefore, the mental transmutation is really the magic of which the ancient writers had so much to say in their mystical works. So again, this means releasing the unnecessary suffering and force-based trying to control others and changing the attitude in mind to reflect ideally and perfectly and in ways that will look so poetically well orchestrated as all roles are automatically played to reflect that state. You'll see what I mean as you apply this. And again, this is not new to you. You've done it before. And I'm only encouraging this as a way of life, a magical way of life. So I trust you found this video to be helpful. Let's go ahead and conclude this with an auto-suggestion to further encourage. You could say, all things spawn from the divine center within myself, in which the formless is made form by conscious self-suggestion. I speak ideal relationships into existence and thus observe how all within awareness transform to reflect my ideal, all by mere observation. My mind is unfettered and free to soar where my heart desires in an effortless, blissful way, as this is all what I'm conscious of being now. If you would like a copy of this mind map, the link is in the description. Thank you very much for watching. I'll talk with you soon. Take care.